Hello, my YouTube world. This is Johnny Moe coming to you with a very live video. Wanted to, I've gotten some questions that it's just so hard in this busy season to um, answer all the questions. So I figured I would just jump on here, answer some questions for you, jump off, just do a live video really quick and, go over some of the questions I have. One of the questions is, about standards. What are my thoughts on the standard mower? The standard mower craze that's going on right now. Um, so first of all, this is my 23rd year in business. So the standard mower craze is nothing I haven't seen before. I remember when they first came out. I was around way back then when they first came out, right, and all the other ones. Um, they seem to be a prominent um, they seem to be a very prominent thing today. So I want to give you my honest thoughts and opinions on them. My honest thoughts and opinions on standards are, just depends on your market. They used to be, what it used to be was walk behinds were huge in the 90s. Everybody had a walk behind, and then zero turns came out, and then standards came out. So it used to be walk behinds, in between a walk behind and a zero turn would be a stander, and the prices was right in the middle of it. Now what I've noticed is that the standard pricing is absolutely about the same as a zero turn, and I'm just not a big fan. There are some standards that I think that are good, but for what you're getting, they look like stripe machines, but doesn't see myself standing up all day. And that's the thing, like, you're standing all day. Like, if you're just cutting a few lawns a day or a couple hours a day, I could see it. They're fun to use. Again, you know me, I demoed these, I've used them. I've used a Toro Grandstand, X-Mark Advantage. When the ZK Killer came out, from Right, I demoed that. I really liked it. It was really fast. And I'm just going to be honest. Right now, what Right is doing is absolutely, I mean, it's phenomenal. Their marketing and what they're doing. They deserve a look. They were the first to the market. Um, they deserve a look. The only issue I ever had with Right is that I did not like the way they cut. Their decks just didn't do well where I'm at, and I just never liked them. I loved the platform. I loved everything about that, but I just didn't like the cutting capacity of them. Um, I will be honest with you. Looking into a standard versus Walkman so I can drive mower into and out of the truck Bradley. What I'm going to say here is, I'm just going to say this. I think you need to be very careful about buying a specific brand, the right mower for the job. I think you got to be very, very careful in what we're doing here on YouTube. I do not have anything against Right or people that use them. I just go through the videos, guys. Look at the mess that they are leaving. I'm telling you, 25 plane a day, standard is productive if you don't have too many heels. I bought a 36 ferrets, don't like standing, only Turf Tiger, and Cheetah 61. I said bigger yards way. Um, just be very careful. Demo. This is the perfect time. The grass is growing through the roof. Demo these mowers before you purchase them. It is a big purchase. My issue with the Ferris Z3 and the Right ZK Killer is that it is absolutely as heavy as a zero turn, and you are standing all day long. Your knees and hips are going to feel the pinch in years to come. That said, would I own a stander? Oh, absolutely. If they could stay on the side of heels, definitely. If I had to choose a stander, I would choose the Ferris Z3. That's just my opinion. Um, I like the Ferris Z3. The thing that I don't like about the Ferris Z3 is that it is just super heavy, but so is the ZK Killer from Right. I'm just telling you, as someone who's been a part of YouTube, pretty much I got to be one of the first up there with Geek to Freak. I came in right after, a little bit after him, maybe 6, 7, 8 months, a year after him. I've watched this little trend that's going on, the right mower. Be very careful because this mower that you make a decision on could be an issue for you. It could be an issue, especially if it doesn't cut as good as the mower that you already have. I would absolutely, and I've said this before, go outside, look at absolutely what everybody is using. And then that's where I would start with my mowing, because if that mower is that popular in your area, probably my Ferris Rut's more than my Turf Tiger. I can see that because it's a smaller mower, smaller wheels, and if it's wet out, I can absolutely see it. Um, you can't really compare a Turf Tiger to a standard 36. There's just no comparison. The Turf Tiger probably has more horsepower. That's not even a comparison. What a comparison would be like a Z3 versus or a Right ZK Killer. And again, I'm not speaking bad about Right. I'm just saying be very careful. Everyone's just dropping their brand that they've been with for years, and they might have good reason, but be very careful because look at the videos. I watched a time lapse video of a person cutting a grass. He cut the lawn 6 times to make it look right. Guys, he was using a Right ZK Killer. Do not think that you made 1 cent off that lawn cutting it 6 times. 6 times. 6. Other people are cutting the lawn twice and then going over it with a backpack sprayer. Standards are great on flat ground, but not so good on hills. All depends on your market. I don't know about the hills. You know, when I had the ZK Killer, I actually took it on a hill, and it really did well. That Z3 holds hills very well too. When I tested it, again, both mowers are heavy as a zero turn. So if you got a lot of smaller lawns, maybe a quarter acre, that might be the way to go. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that I see a trend. It's a really cool marketing thing. You know, I see guys just dropping their brands, heading, I'm getting it right, I'm getting it right because so and so has it right. Watch the videos. If you're cutting a $50 lawn, you're cutting it twice, maybe even 3 times, and then you're coming through with a backpack. Guys, you talk about the spring rush trap. You're talking about making money at mowing. Let me read this comment. My area is 52, walk behind for the really steep hills, and 61 Turf Tiger, 37 EFI for large, 52. That 37 EFI is just I have that engine on my Ferris, and it is a beast of an engine. I do like the X Mark Staris standard. The only thing I don't like about it, the engine options aren't awesome on it. So I'm not a big fan of that. I think that you need, in this day and age, you need some serious power engine-wise to make the money. But when you're cutting grass, the one thing you definitely don't want to be doing is cutting 4 or 5 times to make it look right, and then you're coming through with a backpack. And that's why you have to watch these guys. Like I love watching these guys mow grass, and you get to see how they do it. And sometimes they time lapse it. And what you can do is you can count. Like even though they're going fast, okay, they went over the front lawn once. Whoop, they went over it twice. I counted 6 times. Kid had a ZK Killer, 37 EFI, right stander. He went over the lawn 6 times. Did it look good when he was done? Absolutely. Do I think he made 1 cent off that lawn? Absolutely not. Absolutely. By the time you pay for your mower payment, the time you put in gas, the time that the money for insurance, if you had employees, it all adds up. Just be careful when you're watching YouTube. Don't just take my word for it. I mow a lot of smaller lawns, and people don't say much when you are standing, but complain when using a rider, even if the weight is Yeah, because I can get that. I can get people not being, they get the riders faster, Um, but if you got people complaining that you're going too fast, those aren't the customers you really want. And eventually you'll weed those out. If you've got an older couple, I usually get that in the older couples whose husband worked in the mill for all these years, and what he used to come home from the mill, didn't want to deal with his wife. Hey Charlie, you yap 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 yap. He'd go outside and cut the grass all night because he didn't want to hear Edith in there over there. Charlie and Edith. He didn't want to deal with her, so he went outside, push mowed the whole lawn for 40 years because he didn't want to deal with his wife. That's just how it went around here. But that's my warning on the standards, is what I'm saying. 23 years in the business, 23 hard years, not 23 easy years. I didn't catch that. You went from a big bagger this year. I didn't catch that because it disappeared. Um, so right now, I had an Edith that did complain. Too funny. Yeah, Edith and Charlie. Hey, Charlie. Yeah, I've been through the ringer. That's why I don't take every other week cuts. I have one other every other week cut. It's a commercial site. It's out in Timbuktu land, and whatever comes out the side of the deck, the first cut, that's it. If you don't want to pay for an every week cut, it's the first cut. And you were like, oh, you can't do that. I do. You can go look at the site. It was so bad last week. The grass was like this high. I chopped it and left it. And it's if you care about your place, you're going to pay to make it look right. And apparently they don't care because they took the cheaper route. And that's why I say don't do 10-day cuts and don't do 2-week cuts. I know when you're first starting out, you got to take everything you can get, but you never make the money off of them, because if it's a 2-week cut, generally 9 times out of 10 is because they can't afford it. And if they can't afford it, if they couldn't afford it, so if it's a $35 cut and you raise it to 45, it's a 10. You get a $10 raise. Do you really think that they're going to pay $55 for what it should be for a 2-week cut to make it look nice? No, they're not going to do that. And then by the time it gets under control, it'll be midsummer. And when it gets hot and you can finally zip through the lawn, what comes up? Crabgrass. Well, what happens with crabgrass? It stays wet all the time. You got clumps there. I don't care what deck you have. Crabgrass is a clumping grass. And you just don't make the monies with it. If you have a bunch of 2-week lawns, just dump them. You'll be so happy. Like every time you cut it, it's like a foot high. It never looks nice, and it's you know, I can't stand them. I hate 2-week lawns. And like I said, I have one. It's a commercial site. I have multiple sites. The other commercial site is every week. I wouldn't do that other commercial site because it's a high traffic area. It looks bad. You can't let that grass go 2 weeks. But out there in Prairieville, grass is a little thinner. It goes 2 weeks, no big deal. But this time of year, grass is really growing, and I don't take them. Just don't take them. Don't take the other week lawns. Um, right now, you're in the trap. You're in the trap. You're going full blown. Grass is growing 7-8 inches a week. You're cutting at 3.5 4 inches, and or some of you are cutting all the way up. And what's going to happen is you're never going to get caught up. Let me see here. I bag most of my lawns as well. Grass has been so wet, still causes problem. This is my second year. This is my first full year, but this is my second year without the bagger. I'm not gonna lie, I do miss certain aspects of bagging because it's hard to make these lawns look good. Everyone's Ferris or Toro generally in Central New York. Walk behinds are cool. I think there's a place for a walk behind, especially if you have hills. Um, like I said, when it comes to brand and mower, just go with whatever's in your area and it cuts your area good. It could be a Skag, it could be a Toro, it could be a Ferris, it could be a Snapper Pro, it could be a Simplicity, it could be a Grasshopper, it could be a Walker. Um, it's just up to you. It's up to you. It could be a right. I mean, a right mower could be the right mower, but again, I'm not bagging on Wright or Ferris. I just when it comes to the Z3, I just think the weight of that mower is just so heavy, and for what you're paying for it, like it was the right the both the ZK Killer and the Z3 are both way more money than my 3200 was, and when it comes to comfort, I just can't see it. I was just on a Z2 3 days ago. It was pretty comfortable. I mean, but I can't see standing all day long, bouncing, 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 bouncing. That's your knees, man. Bouncing, bouncing. You bounce on a mower on your back too. So I don't have an issue with standard. I just have an issue with some of these, the right mower. Be careful, guys, because watch their videos. Go back and watch their timelines. Go back and watch how they have to cut grass and what they have to do to make it look right. That all affects the bottom line of your business. You're in business not to buy pretty, shiny, yellow, red, green mowers. You're in business to make money to support whatever goals and dreams that you have. That's why you're in business. You're not in business to have the best trailer look. Oh, I got all yellow. Oh, I got all red. Look at me. I got all this. You're in business to make monies for your dreams and goals and visions for your life. And the sooner you get to that part of it, the better you'll be. When we're back onto this spring rush trap, you're right dead smack in the middle of it. The phone is still ringing. You're still taking them. And you're setting yourself up for failure this year. You're setting yourself up for failure this year. And what do I mean by that? You're taking on work you can't possibly do. So you got a full week of mowing. I love how you tell the truth. Thank you. You have a full week of mowing. You work Monday through Friday. And then now you want to schedule. So you have two big rushes when it comes to landscape maintenance. So if you do trimming, bush trimming, and mulch installs, you have the Memorial Day weekend is the first big push. The second one is the 4th of July. But what's going on in both of those dates like crazy? The grass is growing. It's raining. You're backed up. And now all of a sudden you want to take on the world. You want to take on all this mowing. And then you want to take on all this. You don't have enough help. Then you're trying to find help. And then all of a sudden your equipment's breaking. And you're like, I want to pull my hair out. It's raining. And you're like, Johnny, how do you know? It's like you're talking right to me. Lived it. Lived it. Lived it. I lived in the spring rush trap. I had 47 messages on my machine a few weeks ago. Let me see how many I have this week. Right now, over the weekend, it's Sunday afternoon. I have 7 came in from Friday. I have 7. 7 more estimates. Guess how many of those I'm getting? 0. Because I'm not growing like that. I'm not taking on all this work just so I can be busy. Like, is there something else in life that matters to you besides mowing and buying equipment? I had a great question a couple weeks ago. What's your end game? A guy asked me what my end game was. See, I'm at 45 now. I'm a solo operator. Let me read this one. Hello, what is that dream called by which you use to dry skin conditions such as dermatologic eczema, psoriasis? I don't know what he's talking about. Eczema. Greatest advice here. So, what is your dream besides mowing? What is your end game? I'm 45. I just bought a brand new truck. I'm 45 years old. I just bought a brand new Ford F-250 Super Duty. I suspect, and I bought this on purpose at this particular age, I suspect that this is my last purchase of a truck in this particular industry. If I keep this 10 to 15 years, which I've kept the last 2 trucks over 10 years, one was 9.5, the one before it was 10. I suspect that this is my last truck in this industry. I suspect that I'll probably buy one more mower in this industry. I just bought the Ferris 3200. I'm going to do a review. It's coming up on 100 hours. I will be doing a full review, what I like, what I don't like. I will be very honest with you because I bought the mower. Ferris didn't give it to me. Um, I have been contacted by some Ferris people, but they've never given me anything. It's always been like a rep. It's never been anyone from the big places. It's always been a rep. Hey, I know that you like our Ferrises. I see that. I know that I've for sure counted in the last 3 years, I've sold 16 zero turn Ferris zero turns. I sold 7 Toros that have been confirmed. People have said, hey, listen, I bought this mower because of you. And so I'll be doing a nice review on the Ferris. I paid $10,000, $10,900 of my money. It wasn't given to me, and I don't have to kind of, even though I might not like something about it, I kind of have to spin it to say something. Like when I bought the Echo 8010, I told you everything I liked about it, everything I disliked about it. I'm about I'm about probably one of the only channels that gives you might not get the great camera work, you might not get the it might not be, it might be a little shaky. You might not like that part of it, but I'm probably one of the few channels that actually give you an honest review. I told you about the ZK Killer. I thought it felt the best. I felt really great where the platform was. I don't think their suspension is anywhere near as good as a Ferris. Um, I really don't think. I think the Z3, in my opinion, is the best mower, cutting, speed, power. I think the Z3 is the best. If I was going to go with a standard, that's where it'd be. If I had to make another choice, I probably would. I would try the right, but I have tried them a few times. I've demoed 3 of their units. The ZK, I guess the X is the middle one, and I tried a real small one. I wasn't a fan of the small stuff. If you need something small, I would just go ahead and get a 36-inch walk behind. I think there's much better decks out there. I tell you, who got a great deck. The X Mark and Toro 36-inch walk behind. It's a great deck on them. Those things cut unbelievable. I love those. Um, but you're dead square in the middle of this spring rush trap, and so I'm at the age now where I am thinking about my end game. I am thinking about, how am I going to finish this? How am I going to, especially as a solo guy, as you get older, they say nothing nifty after 50. And when you're solo, what that means is you don't want to go be buying a $200,000 home at the age of 50 and then have to work to your, 65, 70, because you don't know. You don't know the things that you're going to have to go through in life. Like, you don't know if you're going to get sick at 55. You don't know, do you have a history of heart disease? Do you have a history of this? What's your history like and all that? You don't know that stuff. So for you to say, like, I'm gonna work this till I'm, or you can go the other route. You can build a really big business, be hands off, just collect a paycheck, just kind of manage the stuff that you have. Can I have some advice from how to tackle a big bush for my? I don't know. I can't give you any advice for the bush trimming. I don't know. Um, how I trim bushes, I always start from the top down. Is how I do it. It's easier to clean. So if I trim from the top, if you trim from the bottom, you have all the trimmings getting stuck. Then you got to shake out the bush. But I always start from the top. So as you trim down, you're trimming all the other trimmings and you're trimming off the bush. Just a little bit easier for me. I don't know about anything real big. Always trim your bush. I got that. It was pretty funny. Um, but just establishing a goal. And some people's goals might be different than what some of these other channels or some of these other people. Your goal might be like, hey, listen, I want to get off every day at 3:30. I want to make $400 a day, 5 days a week. That's $2,000. It's $8,000 a month. And someone say, oh, you're lazy, but you want to be off at 3:30 every single day. Why is that a bad goal? It's your goal. It's what you want to do. By the way, $8,000 a month. There's not very many jobs out there. You're making $8,000 a month. Just think about it. But you're solo, and that's who I am. I'm a solo guy. I'm not trying to. I tried to do the big thing. I tried to do the two crews that, I just didn't do good at it, in my leadership style or, whatever it was. I made poor choices. I've told the story, how to fail at business. Me 101. First of all, I answered every call, took every job. I worked my employees into the ground, and all I did was like, we went from this job to this job to this job to this job, this job, this job, just I mean, all the time, constant, going, 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 going. No one wants to work 70 hours a week anymore. And by the way, it's not a bad thing not to work 70 hours a week. Who told you? Who told you? Who told you? We start at 7:30 and get off at 3, 4 at the latest. We mow 3 days a week, landscape for one. But see, that's your thing, and I think that's great. I don't have to even agree with it or disagree with it. That's your thing. That's what you want to do. That's what you go do. That's awesome. If you want to buy a whole fleet of Toro mowers, that's your thing. Go do it. If you want to buy a whole fleet of Wright machines, that's your thing. Go do it. The one thing I'm just going to say is just be careful when you're buying these mowers just because a certain channel said this is the mower. A certain channel said, hey, this is it. Even me, I like Ferris. I like Toro. That does not mean at all that mower is going to work in your area. Be very careful. Like right now is the best time to demo a mower. Don't go buy a Toro Time Master because I have a Toro Time Master. Because guess what I just did this week? I just finally put a transmission in that thing. Do not just do something because I said it. There's nothing wrong with being solo. What's wrong with being solo is that some people don't call you an entrepreneur. Some people say that you're not, you know, you can't, you can never get away from the business. If my daughter has a game at 5 o'clock, I just I park the trailer and go watch my daughter play at 5 o'clock. Can I do that when I'm working for somebody? No. Can I go make $15 an hour at some job? Probably. But you're still not in control of your life. You're still a solo guy. You can still, okay, I'm done for today. I've done enough. I've done enough. And then you could set it up to your dreams, goals, and visions. You want to be home at 3:30? Be home at 3:30. There's nothing stopping you. You might have a financial issue. You might not be able to get all your work done, but that's what you want to do. So you got to set your life up to match your dreams, goals, and vision. The problem that I see and I run into, especially with motivational speakers, they want everyone to be in the 3% bracket. They want everyone to be a 3%er. They want everyone to make millions and millions of dollars, set your vision, set your goals, set everything up. That's great if you live in an area where you can do it. I would love to see some of these people come to my area, a distressed area at that. I live just north of Pittsburgh. We are considered a distressed city. We've been in what's called Act 47. I can't remember how long. So the state actually runs our local government because it's a distressed area. Our housing has dropped. Listen to this: 40% in the city. How are you going to come here and have multiple crews and multiple? I mean, think about this. There's only so many big, huge places. There's only so many big, massive accounts where you can make money. Do we have some businesses here that do well? Absolutely, we do. But if I try to take the model that someone's using in Texas and bring it here, it's not going to work too good. You guys don't know this because some of you guys are in your 20s. Some of you guys are watching me right now are actually 18. You won't know this until you turn 40. When you're 40 years old, your body doesn't react as well as it used to, and you start slowing down. But your mind still says that you can cut 70, 80 lawns a week. but your body, you get sore at the end of the day. And maybe you didn't take care of your body over the years, or whatever it was. But I'm telling you guys, you got to think. Begin with the end in mind. Think about what you really want in life. I mean, if you're living in an area that can constitute multiple crews, and you can build a system, and hiring is awesome. You have enough workers. There are parts, especially in Texas, that you can do that stuff. But if you're in an area that's depressed, it's hard to build that. So you got to watch taking. But if you are in an area, go at it. Try. Listen, I've always said this: if you have a Starbucks in your area, there's money in your area. If you have an Apple store in your area, there's money in your area. Use their thinking. They go in. We don't have a Starbucks here. Why? Because Starbucks wouldn't succeed here. It wouldn't generate enough money. We don't have an Apple store here. Why? Because an Apple store wouldn't generate enough money for them to do what they want to do. So if I were to try to put this massive team and business, and all I did was run myself into the ground, make poor buying choices. I'll go over it again with you. Went 2 crews, so I needed 2 trucks. 2 crews, 2 trucks. So that means we had to have multiple mowers. I was putting on one mower 900 hours a year on it, and it just seemed like every second into the 3rd year, everything was breaking down. Uh, I couldn't wait for it to get out of the shop because we had to keep mowing. We had to keep doing everything we were doing. So I'd buy another zero turn, and the other zero turn wasn't even paid off yet. But it had 1,800 hours on it in 2 years. And we were just abusing them, just blowing through them. We were bagging all the time, and you dump the truck, and um, just mowing, buying, because you need it. Then that truck broke down. That's in the shop. We're down, so we got to take this truck. We got to figure out. It was just a mess. It was a mess. And by the time after 5 years, your head clears, you're looking at your bank account and you're going, "What the freak is going on? I'm doing all this work. I'm paying exorbitant amounts of insurance, like workman's comp insurance. All this money, all the workman's comp, and then at the end of the year, you'd finally get through the year because you went through the spring rush trap. You signed all this work, and you found a way. You were late on everything, but you found a way to do it. And then workman's comp would come at the end of the year, give you an audit, found out how many hours of overtime you worked. They'd give you a nice little hefty bill. No one talks to you about that on here. They don't talk, because half the guys on here of employees are paying them cash. Or, hey, that's my brother. Or, hey, that's my cousin. They don't even pay workman's comp. I want you to think about that. And what would happen is, in the spring rush trap, you'd go bid a mulch job. That mulch job would be this much money. But then by the time you got through your mowing list for the week, your guys were all in overtime. And by the time you did the mulch job, everyone's making double the amount of money. Except for who? You, as the owner. Great for the guys. They love it. They're tearing up the overtime. But then after a while, after July 4th, the guys start getting tired. They don't want to work 60, 70 hours. But you answered that phone. You put all this work. See, this is a calendar. It's a calendar. So it's sitting on my desk. This is my other calendar that I keep with me. What you have to do is open up the calendar and put all your work in a week, and look to see when there's time slots in the week that you can actually do something. I was doing like 70 mulch jobs a year. Like, it was crazy. Like, we had a full-blown mowing. We were 70 mulchings a year, prune them, edge them, mulch them. Boom, boom. We try to knock them out. But you never account for rain. You never account for down equipment. You never account for much of anything. You don't account for all the things that you should account for. You never account for, hey, it's going to rain 3 days this week. Well, you can't let the grass grow because the grass keeps growing, especially this type of year. You didn't account for, hey, my mower just went down. And here's the thing. When you're in a spring rush trap, your mower breaks down, you take it to your dealer who you bought it from, and everyone else is in a spring rush trap. They're in a spring rush trap. They've got a backup of mowers. So what do? You slam the mower dealer because they can't get you up and running. Why? Because you're poor planning. Now you're mad at him because he can't get the mower out because he's backed up because he's got 50 other guys that got to get their mower fixed. And now you're yelling at them because you're poor planning because you never thought that your mower would ever break down using it 6, 7 hours a day in the hottest weather that you could you get on, turn the key, full blast, boom, and it just snowballs. So you get mad, you buy another mower, and then you know it solves the problem for a year, but then that mower breaks down. Listen, guys, they don't make mowers like whether it's right, whether it's Ferris, they don't Toro. These mowers are not made to last. They're not, I'm telling you right now. When we bought mowers in the '90s, these things would last and last and last. My first mower was a Toro 52-inch Super Flow system deck. It's still running today. I sold it with over 1,000 hours on. I sold it for 3,200. I bought it for 63. The homeowner is still using it today. I bought that mower back in 1997, 1998. It's still used today. These mowers today, they're just not made to last. Like the pumps and wheel motors have never been changed in that mower. That the engine is still the original engine. Today, these mowers are just not made to last because they can't have a mower lasting 10 years because they need you to come back and buy another mower. Me personally, I found after the 1,300 to 1,500 hour range is when I start going through, like, it seems like once a month something's going wrong with them. I mean, you can get them to go to 2,500, 3,000 hours, but you're going to put a little bit of money into them. You're going to have some issues. That's just been my personal. The longest mower I ever had was I had a Ferris that went 4,000 hours, but I put a ton of money into that mower. I just liked the way that mower was, and nothing special. It wasn't like, oh, it was the greatest cutter. I just liked it. It was comfortable. It was my first Ferris mower, and it was just my go-to mower. Um, the last mower I just sold had 1,200 hours on it. It was a Snapper Pro, and it just started around the 1,100 hour mark. It just everything. It just had issues. Like it was having an issue when I sold it. Like I even told the guy, like, listen, this is what's wrong with it. It wasn't keeping the battery charged or had to get a new battery, and it just had issue after issue. And after it gets like that, it's just not a reliable mower anymore, and it might be time for you to look up. But beginning with the end in mind, for me, I'm making purchases now because I don't really believe that I'm going to be making too many more truck purchases. I think this is probably going to be my last truck, guys. I'm 45. I keep them about 10 years. Um, I think I'm going to try to keep this. I don't know how long I'm going to go. Like I'm thinking in that realm. My end game, I could sell the business. I had an offer on it this year. Had an offer on it 2 years ago. It's not changing your life offers. It's not like you can just go retire. You can just sell that business, and you'd have to go to work for somebody. I'm still in pretty good shape. I can still handle um, the workload that I have. But this is something you're going to have to think about. It is something you're definitely going to have to think about. How long can you go? I could tell you my knees hurt at 45. They hurt. My lower back hurts a little bit. It's not to the point where I can't work, but it does sting a little bit. So these are all things that you need to think about. So just to review everything that we talked about in this video, I did give a warning about what I am seeing going on at YouTube, because there are certain channels, they're very big channels. Uh, they're big channels. They're not good or bad channels. They're just bigger channels, and I enjoy watching them. I think they're entertaining. Um, Nothing bad to say, but I will say this. Um, Be careful just buying a mower because Johnny Mow said so. Be careful just because someone has 20,000 subs and they say this is the mower. That mower may not work. What I'm telling you to do is I'm telling you, if you want a right mower, go demo that right mower. Go get one, put it through the ringer. And listen, if your dealer won't let you do it, you call a rep. If your rep won't let you do it, then forget about it. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go back to those people who all promote products like Ferris, Toro, Exmark. Go back through their videos. When they do live mowing, go look at what they do to get that mower to look good. Right now, we have one channel. I'm not going to mention their names. The grass has been so highlighted, they won't even show the product anymore because I know that they're cutting 3, 4, 5 times to get the mower to look right. But they're not putting that. They're showing a couple lines in the beginning, nothing in the middle, because they don't want to. They don't want you to see that mower's blowing out clump after clump after clump, or it's making a massive mess, and they don't want to show you everything that they're doing to get that lawn to look good. There's some are. I caught one channel. They did a time lapse on this lawn, and I was sitting there watching, and I rewinded. I'm like, wait a minute. This cat just cut this lawn like 3 times. I counted. He cut it 6 times. Now on the times lapse, well, I mean, I appreciate that, but there's no. I'm not trying to be a YouTube star. This isn't. I like YouTube just because it helps me out. This guy, I forget, it's DLT. I think it's a newer channel. I really like it. They call him Doctor Real. He likes to be called Doctor Real. This is what I mean about YouTube and the power of YouTube. And this is what I like to get at. He had a pair of blue channel locks that really did well getting oil filters off. And so I messaged him and I said, "Hey, what's the part number? I just bought those oil pliers. Man, I've had them from like Harbor Freight, but sometimes they don't grip right, they don't do right. But these look like they were a stout pair. This is a nice set. Like Randy from up there, Country Time, up there in Buffalo, he had a battery charger. Um, I think it was an HD 70 something. I bought one because he had it. This thing has been a life changer. It is a portable battery charger. It is literally only this big. I can't tell you how many times I've charged my batteries in the dead of winter or out in the field, or like 2 weeks ago I had a flat tire and the flat tire was all the way across the lawn and my truck had a pump in it, but it was a cigarette lighter pump. So I took that battery charger, went all the way over there, plugged that cigarette charger in there, and filled up my tire and was able to put a plug in that tire. Like, that's what I mean. It's the little tips and tricks that you learn off of YouTube, like watching. Like, I like to watch people mow. They do something a little bit different than maybe, like I'll give you a tip that I've been using lately because the lawns are extremely high. It's been working really well, especially because I don't have a bagger. So here's a Johnny Mow tip. Here's a Johnny Mow tip for you. So what I do is I go cut the hardest part of the lawn first. Hardest part. Every lawn has a hard part, whether it be the front, side, or back, or sometimes lawn, all of them are hard. I knock down the lawn. I cut slower. I make sure that the mower's processing the grass. Everything is cut, because you're not going to be able to do this if grass is starting to stand back up and start. So I go a little bit slower and I get it out. I'll go weed whack. And then what I do is I get the mower, I pull it up a 1/2 inch, and I go completely. Now listen, I go completely the different way if the lawn is in bad shape. Now, if there's like just a few clumps here and there, I'll just go the same lines and I'll go over those same few lines that are fully clumped up. But if the lawn, like the Ferris doesn't throw clumps. I don't know if you're not familiar with the ICD deck. It doesn't throw clumps. It leaves it like looking like hay. Like it just throws it out there and it leaves it like a thick blanket. That's how a Ferris cuts. Like an X mark, it'll just start tossing clumps. Ferris doesn't do that unless you get stuck in a rainstorm. So what I do is if the lawn is thick, it's real thick the whole way around. I'll take it, raise it a half inch up. I'll go weed whack everything, and I'll go back to the area that I cut first. I'll go a completely different way the whole lawn, and I'm telling you, it is making the lawns look great. So whatever mower you have, that's my Johnny Mow tip. I have not used a bagger yet this year. Um, I've bagged for many years. Now, last year, I started this process about 3 to 4 years ago. I got tired of trying to find a place who would take bagging clippings. And then when I went solo again, I got tired of actually me throwing the bags up on the truck. Um, so I started experimenting with mowers. You can go back, look at my video. Um, I started looking for the perfect deck. I started off when I first started this process. I started off with a Turf Tiger. Um, it was a 25 horse, fuel injected, and it couldn't clean it up. It just couldn't do it. I got rid of it. I took a $500 loss on it. I got rid of it. The dealer took it back. I took a $500 loss. I put 75 hours on it. It just could not clean up the spring crapgrass. It just couldn't do it. I got buried. There's people still talk about that to this day. Right after that, I went to Toro. Um, I didn't have an issue with Toro. The Toro could do it. It did struggle a little bit. I had an issue with the comfort level of the Toro. The Toro mower was built well. The Skag mower was built like a tank. It was great on hills. It was the best striper I owned. It just couldn't clean the grasses up. So I was kind of satisfied with Toro. I then went to Ferris, and then I bought another Toro, and then I bought another Ferris. So I narrowed it down between the ICD deck, the Turbo Force, and the X Mark. The reason why I didn't go with the X Mark was because the deck and the engine that I needed was $16,000. I wasn't doing that. I was not doing that at all. There's no way. 16 grand for a mower is outrageous. I wanted it into 30 horsepower. So Toro was much the same way. It was about 15.5 for the Toro. So then I settled on this 3200 Ferris, and it was 10.9. It was a leftover model. They wanted to get rid of it. It was 10.9. I think they're around 12 or 13 if you try to buy them now. So I felt that I got a really good deal. It's a 37 EFI, and as of right now, as of the last 2 to 3 weeks have been pretty hard cutting, like nasty cutting. I have not bagged anything. I do not even own a bagger, so I have no way of really even trying to pick up the clippings. So, and it's worked out really well. So hopefully that Johnny Mow tip will help you out. If you get yourself in a pinch, you don't want to bag, cut your hardest area first, then go cut the rest of the lawn, then go weed whack. Let that sun dry those clippings out a little bit, and then go a completely different way. Just boom, boom, boom. It just scatters it. The Ferris, the 37 EFI, is plenty of power. The stripes look good. I'm very happy with that mower at this time. I'm close to 100 hours on it right now. I got to do the hydro oil change. That's a pain in the butt. I hate doing that. It takes 5 quarts each side. It takes like 2.5, 3 hours to do it because they have a breather in there. So what you have to do is fill up 1 quart, sit there and wait for it to drip down into the thing. Oh, it's just like I'm dreading doing it, but it's part of maintenance. I did for the hydraulics. I did buy synthetic 20W50 instead of conventional. Because I'm kind of riding the mower pretty hard. I do a lot of hills, and that's hard on a zero turn. And since it's my only zero turn, it's going pretty good. So we talked about being careful which mower to buy, the right mower versus others. Be very careful. Don't listen to a bunch of YouTube channels that say this is the way to go. Do this, do that. I just give you my unbiased opinion. And what's neat about me, since I've been in it for 23 years, like I remember when Great Dane came out with the standers. Like I had a Toro T-bar walk behind belt drive. The transmissions were only $280. The belts were $40 a side. I mean, it just those were really are the good old days. And then the zero turns came out, X Mark, Toro. It seemed like X Mark really came out of the woodwork and really blew up is the one I really remember. Now I see it coming for full circle where, standers are the way to go. I'm not telling you not to get a stander. Just make sure that you make the right purchase for you, whether it be a right. It could be a right. I will say I'm very impressed with Ed Wright. I'm very impressed with the marketing. Um, I'm very impressed with what they're doing and how they're doing it. I'm very glad for their success because they were the pioneers in this. I'm not going to lie to you. Ferris waited till their patent ran out and they came out and put the platform right where it needed to be. Just like Ferris's shocks on their mower, their patent is running out, and you'll see other mowers that do it. I think Wright has been an innovator, and they deserve all the success. I'm just telling you, make sure that that deck can do what you need to do. Make sure that that mower can do what you need to do. And listen, if you say, "Well, Johnny Mow got a Ferris, I'm going to try a Ferris," make sure that that Ferris can do. I'm interested to see if you have any experience with the 7 iron deck in my area. In my opinion, the 7 iron deck that I've had experience with, and I've been documented. I'm not a John Deere fan at all. I think it's way overpriced. Um, I think Wright, Ferris, and Toro have been the most innovating companies over the last 5 years. As far as John Deere, I've not had very good success with the 7 iron deck. I have not tested any of the new 7 irons. I did some of the old 7 irons. I tested out they have a stander, which I believe they probably it had their platform was in the right place. Very uncomfortable stander. Um, it's a true story. I at the time I was running Toro specifically, and I actually took a John Deere stander with a 7 iron deck. I was told that this is the best cutting deck, and I cut this guy's lawn. He came out. He goes, "Did you get a new machine, Johnny?" I said, "No, I'm demoing this machine. I'm going to use it for the day, and I'm going to give it back." He said, "Are you going to buy that machine?" I said, "I don't know." He goes, "My lawn looks like crap." Now I wasn't done with the lawn. I was actually getting the Toro out to bag it up because it looked bad. So after that, I demoed a 7 iron John Deere, and what I did is my buddy had an X Bark, and we took a big field, we cut it down the middle, and I cut with the John Deere on this side, he cut with the X Mark on this side, and we stood at the road, and when we were done, the X Mark destroyed it. Like it was the cut quality, there was clumps, it was not even close. So I kind of shut down on John Deere. I did look into them a couple years ago when I was looking into the decks because they said that the 7 iron deck cuts the best in the wet weather. They said that the Velocity Plus and the 7 iron were the two best decks. When I went to when I went to look at it, it just didn't match up, and the John Deere for the engine to the deck was just so much more expensive. Um, my personal favorite mowers are the Ferris 3200, Ferris 2100. I do like the Z3 and I do like the Z2 standers. Those four mowers, I like them. I like the Skag Cheetah. I think it's comfortable. Um, that's about the only mower I would own from Skag would be a Skag Cheetah. I do the bigger models, the 37 EFI. I like it's comfortable. I think they've been very innovative where they put the shock and how comfortable it is. I like the Skag Cheetah. Um, I like the Wright ZK Killer. That's all I like. After that, you get down to those lower models. I'm not a big fan of the 23 horsepower mowers. I'm just not a fan of them all. Like the Standard X and all that. I want power. Um, I like the X Mark Ultra Cut deck. I like the Toro Turbo Force. I love those. I think the X Mark is the best cutting deck on the market. I think Toro's probably right there with it. And for me, the ICD deck is right there. The problem I have with Toro and Exmark, they've priced themselves out of the market. $15,000 to $16,000 for a 30 horsepower mower. You're outrageous. I mean, I'm sure there's some dealers that have them for 13 and 14, but you're on the upper edge. You could buy a car. You could buy a nice car for that, and you're out of there. But if you had the money and money wasn't an object, and you could match the power of a 34 with an X Mark, that's where I'd go. I like that mower. I like the My Ride is the third most comfortable mower. The Ferris 2100 is the most comfortable mower out of all of them. Then the Ferris 3200 follows it in comfort, and then to me is Skag Cheetah. The Skag Cheetah is that's the next comfortable mower, and then the My Rides from the Toro and X Mark. Those are great mowers. When it comes to standards, I only like two brands right now. The two brands are Wright and Ferris. Um, the other brands, I'm just not a just not uh, just not sold on them. I think the Wright and Ferris, they're just. It seems to me that the Wright Z3 and the ZK Killer are just so far more advanced than everyone else. Um, Ferris being number one for me, ZK being number two. Um, as push mowers go, they're all junk. They're all throwaways now. I have a Toro Time Master. I'm in my third year. I just put a transmission in it. It only has 90.5 hours in it on it, and that shows you how much I actually use a push mower because it only has 90.5. So that's 2 years. I'm into my third year. I just finally put the transmission into it. If the motor would blow up tomorrow, I'd go buy another one. I just bought a Toro. While that was in the shop, I didn't have a backup. I just bought a Toro 22 all-wheel drive, and it is a piece of junk. It's just junk. Don't like it at all. All the push mower, they don't make like the old Suzuki Toro commercial old Suzuki. That was the best push mower. That was a real mower. It was a two-cycle Suzuki engine. That's a mower. These new mowers suck. They suck. Toro Time Master to me, if they could fix that transmission in that Toro Time Master, it'd be the best push mower on the planet. But because it has that transmission issue, it stinks. Push mowers to me are a dime a dozen. I don't care who you go with. Just throw them away after a couple years. Um, Stick edger equipment, weed whackers. I like Steel Echo and Red Max. Those to me are the three. They all have great, great pieces in all of them. I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. There's some good pieces, some bad pieces. Whatever your dealer holds is probably going to be a steal. Right now, my favorite trimmer is a 94R. The 94R is, to me, the longest last. Um, the the new push mower by Ferris, yeah, and that push mower, the FW15, um, it doesn't have a bagging system yet on it, and I want to see where they put that bagging system. It is heavy. It's $2,700 or $2,500, which I might have bought one of those, but it's not like the Toro Time Master is side discharge, mulch, and bag, and it's easy to do all three. That that Ferris doesn't have the bagger system. They haven't invented it yet. They're saying on the site that they have it, but they haven't done it yet. So I'd like to see how that's going to bag, how that's going to be affected, because I think that's built better than a Toro Time Master. God, my this is I've been on here so long. I'm done. I'm talked out. It was great talking to you. See you later. My favorite weed whacker is the 94R. My favorite backpack blower is the Steel 800C with the side chute. I had to take the Steel in. The side chute actually. What's up, Paul Jameson? The side chute was broken, so I had a faulty one right from the factory. I've been using the side chute this year, and I have not had one issue with it. Not one issue. It still does start a little funny, but on most days it starts exactly the way it's supposed to start. So the 94R weed whacker is my favorite weed whacker. The 800C is my favorite backpack blower. I believe it's the second most powerful backpack. The Echo 8010 is definitely more powerful than it, but I still like the Steel 800. Those are my favorite things to use. That's what I use. That does not mean that's what you should use just because I said so. You try it out for yourself. The 94Rs have lasted the longest for me. I used to have the Echo 266Ts. I get about 2 years out of them, and they were shot. These 94Rs, I got one that's going into its fourth year now. I just bought a brand new 94R, and I put the oldest one, one going into its fourth year, around my house. Green Industry Podcast on iTunes. All right, my man. Have a great day.